Hello, brovs. We're back with Cruel as the Grave. We've just seen a mystery ginger arrive in Blackville, and he's dressed as death going to the Halloween ball. Chapter 15, the Masquerade Ball. Light up the mansion, spread the festive board. Welcome the gay, the noble, and the fair. Through the bright hall and joyous concert poured, let mirth and music sound the dirge of care. But ask thou not if happiness be there, if the Lord laugh the sky's convulsive throw, or if the brow the heart's true livery wear. Lift not the festal mask, enough to know no scene of mortal life but teems with mortal woe. Walter Scott. The whole front of Black Hall blazed with festive lights, and these lights were all reflected in the dark waters of the lake and by the glowing foliage of the trees that clothed the mountains and by the sparkling spray of the cascades that sprung from the rocks on the other side. The space immediately before the house was crowded with carriages of every description, from the splendid open barouche, I assume that's baroque and not barouche, but I could be wrong, to the comfortable family coach and the plain gig. The portico and passages in front of the house were thronged with arriving guests and waiting attendants ready to show them to the dressing rooms, which were lighted and warmed and supplied with every convenience for the completion of the toilets. The drawing room and dancing saloon, brilliantly lighted by chandeliers and beautifully decorated with festoons of dark, bright evergreens and wreaths of gorgeous autumn leaves and bouquets of splendid autumn flowers, stood ready with wide-open doors to welcome the company. At the hall door, at the head of the servants, stood Mr. Joseph Joy, the house steward, and Miss Tabitha Winterrose, the housekeeper, both disgusted with the heathenish costumes, distracted with the confusion, disapproving of the whole proceedings, yet determined to do their duty. Their duty was to see that men and maids did theirs in showing the gentlemen and ladies to their dressing rooms. They had both in turn been astonished, scandalized, and appalled by the grotesque figures that had passed them, but their manner of expressing their sentiments was quite different. Joseph Joy stared, wondered, and shook his head. Miss Tabby sighed, whimpered, and moralized. I feel as if I had been drinking for a week, and I had a lively sort of a nightmare. Here comes another ghoul in a false face and black gown and hood. Now, how is anybody to tell what it is, whether it is a tall woman or a short man? Gentleman or lady, if your honor pleases, said Joseph Joy, addressing himself to a black domino that just then came up. Gentlemen, answered the unknown. Pass to the right, then, if you please, sir. Here, Alec, show this gentleman in the black shroud to the gentleman's dressing room. A trembling darky came forward and took charge of this terrific personage. Ah, my goodness, no good will ever come of this, sighed Miss Tabby. No good? Yes, there will, too, answered Joseph J., who was fond of contradiction. All these bare-necked, bare-armed, and bare-legged people will get the pleurisy and be laid on the flat of their backs for 3 months, when they will have the opportunity of meditating on the iniquity of their ways. And won't that be good? Yes, it will, and I hope it will be sanctified to their souls, sighed Miss Tabitha. And now here comes another boogie. Gentleman or lady, please, politely inquired the usher as a red domino approached. Lady, softly murmured the domino. Pass the lady on to your maids, Miss Winterrose, and here's another that certainly belongs to your department, too. And another, and a whole dozen of them, exclaimed Mr. Joy, as a troop of bayadères, gypsies, peasants, court ladies, and etc. filled up. All those Miss Winterrose passed on to Delia, with directions to show them to the ladies' dressing room. Zzz. And then she turned to Mr. Joy with a deep sigh, whimpering, Ah, Joseph, where do all these people expect to die when they go to? I mean to go where they die. to go to when they die. Pardon. They don't trouble themselves about that, I reckon, said Contradictory Joe. But it is written that we shall not make to ourselves the likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or in the earth beneath, or in the waters under the earth. And here are all these people making of themselves. Miss Tabby stopped and sniveled, and then stopped again to wipe a tear from the tip of her nose. Well, what? Demanded antagonistic Joe. What are these people making of themselves? Nothing that breaks the first commandment, for surely you don't mean to say that they make of themselves the image of anything in the heavens above, the earth below, or the waters under the earth, do you? No, Joseph, but I was mistrusting, as they had made themselves up into images of something in the other place, with the evil one for a pattern, eh? And here he comes, sure enough. Talk of the I'm guessing that means devil, and you know what happens, muttered Joe Joy, as a most appalling apparition approached. It was a tall, thin figure, clad in a tight-fitting black suit that clung close to the skin from the crown of the head to the soles of the feet and the palms of the hands. Skull cap, mask, jacket, sleeves, trousers, shoes, and gloves seeming to be knit, all of one piece, or else very artistically joined together. Crowning the black brows were two tall white horns. Tipping the black fingers were long white talons. Terminating the black feet were cloven white hooves. Crimson glass goggles over the eyes gave the look of burning coals, and by some devilish cantrip, some trick in chemistry, at least, little jets of flames appeared to issue from the mouth and nostrils of the mask. Heaven save us, there's no mistaking his sex or identity either, gasped Mr. Joe, backing himself away from this diabolical figure until he was stopped by the wall, from which he cried out, "Here, Jerry, show the enemy into the gentleman's dressing room." The shuddering boy, shaking in every limb, shrank away and merely pointed out the door of the dressing room. Miss Tabby had merely time to raise her hands and eyes in mute appeal to heaven before a shoal of new arrivals, flower girls, strawberry girls, match girls, morning stars, evening stars, springs, summers, nuns, bacchantes, etc., claimed her attention, with a troop of brigands, monks, troubadours, clowns, harlequin, kings, crusaders, etc., demanded the guidance of Mr. Joy. And after this, thicker and faster they came, crowding one group behind another, until the ushers were nearly demented. When drove after drove had divided and passed to the right or the left, that is, to the ladies' or gentlemen's dressing rooms, and the stream began to slacken a little, so that they could distinguish individuals, Mr. Joy in turn received and passed the Puritan preacher, a cavalier, soldier, a Highlander, a knight, a minstrel, the veiled prophet, a Switzer, a Chinese mandarin, a Russian serf, in black and white and gray, red, yellow, and blue dominoes. He suddenly exclaimed, "Good Lord, deliver us, what's that?" Miss Tabby, who to her infinite disgust had been receiving and passing any number of fairies, fisher girls, soubrettes, sultanas, etc., turned around and in a quavering voice inquired, "What's what?" "Why, that," shuddered Joe, pointing to a ghastly figure that was standing quite still, a few paces from where they stood, trembling. "It's a skeleton. Oh, my goodness. How did ever it get here? Yes, it is a skeleton. Oh, this is too terrible," gasped Joe, shrinking up against the wall, and his female companion clung close to him. Meanwhile, the skeleton stalked towards them. We, reader, have seen the figure before, but so distinctly was the skeleton of the human body painted in white upon the tight-fitting black suit that the illusion was perfect. And the wonder was not great that the two poor ignorant servants trembled and gasped and shrank back. "Why, if you were not afraid of the devil, why should you shrink from death?" demanded the stranger, grinning horribly, a ghastly smile. There's another X marks the spot. "I was not afraid, only it gives one such a turn," replied Joe with chattering teeth. "Then direct me to a dressing room," ordered the stranger. "But are you a gentleman's skeleton or a lady's?" gasped Joe. "I am neither. I am death," curtly replied the stranger. Lord save us, ejaculated Miss Tabby. Are you going to direct me to a dressing room? Yes, sure, as soon as I know what sort of a one you want. Are you a gentleman's death or a lady's? Faltered Joe, who could by no means command his nerves. I am a lady's death, replied the stranger in a tone so grim that Miss Tabby ejaculated, Heavens have mercy on us. Joe was about to direct the stranger to the ladies' dressing rooms when his attention was suddenly diverted by the arrival of a crowd of knights, Indians, Welsh bands, grisettes, Greek slaves, etc., who demanded immediate service. The usher divided them according to their sexes, and then noticed that the ghastly figure of death joined the gentlemen's party and accompanied them to their dressing room. And that is the end of chapter 15, brav. Next, on the watch. Goodbye.